What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Two Knicks Chicks. Today, we're just rolling with one Knicks chick, as Diva Locks can't join us today, but she'll be back for Thursday's episode. I hope everybody's doing well. Um, Beautiful day, beautiful weather here. And that trend has just been continuing since the New York Liberty are this year's WNBA 2024 champions. It just feels good to even say that. I'm going to be honest. The fact that they have pulled this off, first of all, let's rewind. The Liberty had the best record in the WNBA. They were at the number one seed, remained at the number one seed, and were absolutely fantastic. Were they perfect? No. But I don't think it's perfection that you're looking for when you're a WNBA team. It's about getting the job done, and it's not about how you finish. It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. But this New York Liberty team meant business. They came out with a vengeance. They meant business. And I think this Liberty team came out so strong because if we recall from last year, they lost to the Aces in the final. And as a fan, not only just for the players, but as a fan, watching that was devastating. Watching Asia Wilson and the Aces celebrate in Barclays on the New York Liberty's floor, it was just, and that was triggering for the Liberty. They've talked about it at the top of the season, and just said they didn't want to relive that moment. So for the New York Liberty to go ahead and win and close out, I think if you're a sports fan, even if you're not a huge fan or don't know much about the WNBA, but I think if you are from New York or you are a huge fan of whatever sports team in New York, we got a championship here in New York. Like it took the Liberty, 27 years to do it? They've been to the finals. This was their sixth time making the finals. And they finally made it happen and didn't allow themselves to go 0-6. So they made it to the finals. They got the job done. They did what they needed to do. And listen, they did it in good fashion at that. Now, this finals, first of all, let's start at the top of the playoffs. So for round one, the Liberty faced off against the Atlanta Dream. I was very confident about them facing off against Atlanta because Atlanta just made the playoffs. They just got there by the skin of their teeth. There wasn't really much competition, I would say. That was an easy blowout for the Liberty. Shout out to Tina Charles. I thought she played really well, but just no competition. I felt very confident about that round one matchup. Okay, cool. Then the Liberty move on to the semifinals round. We face off against the Las Vegas Aces, and the entire season, the Liberty had the Aces number. We played them 4 times, I believe, or 3 or 4 times, and we beat them every single time. So it just wasn't, I think maybe one time they beat us. And I know there was some backlash about some people said, well, oh, there was a game they didn't have Jackie Young. They didn't have Chelsea Gray for another game. Listen, it doesn't matter. It takes a team, not just 1 or 2 people to win games. And that my point is going to be proven when I get onto the finals. But nonetheless, that was a pretty good series as well, the semifinals round. I thought the Aces had one good game where they played us, and the Liberty got caught slipping. But for the most part, the Liberty had control of that series. Brianna Stewart played phenomenal that series. Sabrina Ionescu played very well as well. Jonquel Jones held it down. And then one of the things that was changed from a coaching standpoint was Coach Sandy Brondello. She decided to sit Courtney Vandersloot and went with height and started Phoebish, which I thought was excellent. An excellent decision to start Phoebish, who's 6'4", 6'5", has a long wingspan. She's considered a rookie in the WNBA, but she's no rookie. She has plenty of experience playing over in Germany. She has plenty of experience playing for other EuroLeague teams. And she technically was signed to a WNBA team, which I believe she was signed with. I don't know if it was Atlanta or Chicago. It was one of the teams she was already signed to. They weren't utilizing her. So this is why she was technically playing overseas. And the Liberty, shout out to the New York Liberty front office. Just getting the jobs done. Moving this team in the right direction. Because there's a backstory behind where we got to now, where this New York Liberty team has got to now. And it started with ownerships. It started with the front office. I mean, making all the changes. And this is what we also see from the New York Knicks as well, front office, as far as them making the changes and, scouting and bringing the right players in. And this is the same thing the New York Liberty did. They went out, they brought in who they needed to bring in. They went out and got Breanna Stewart. They went and got Jonquel Jones. They went and got Courtney Vandersloot. Courtney Vandersloot and Breanna Stewart have already won a championship, so they know what it takes. Jonquel Jones is the first player in the history of the WNBA to have won Most Improved, an MVP, a championship, and there was another accolade she got as well. But that speaks volumes to get those three, that big three in here, and to get that experience here on this Liberty team to add to Sabrina Ionescu and Benijah Laney Hamilton was absolutely superb. And I can't complain about what this front office has done. And not even just the players, they did a whole lot as far as marketing, changed the mascot. The mascot is their own superstar. Ellie's her own superstar, her own right. Cleaning up the facilities. I mean, as they deserve it. The Brooklyn Nets can't even get past in the damn playoffs. So the Liberty, yeah, they deserve a nice facility. They deserve a nice practice facility. They deserve charter planes. Before Caitlin Clark got into the WNBA, the New York Liberty were getting fined $500,000 plus for putting their players on charter flights, for putting them on planes so they didn't have to travel like whatever else they was doing out in the league. And nobody really knew this until the owner spoke about this like late winter last year. She was speaking about this. So, it just shows that when you have the right ownership and the fact that Wu and her husband bought this team when no one wanted this New York Liberty team. No one wanted the team. James Dolan didn't want nothing to do with them. I mean, and look at where that's gotten him. And I'm a huge Knicks fan. But he had to let go of some control of the Knicks as well, because him trying to hold on to everything and be in control of everything was why the Knicks were struggling for so many years. So now that you brought in Leon Rose and you bring in other personnel in the front office to allow people to do their job, to bring the Knicks in a better direction, we see where this Knicks team has grown and where they're going. And this is the same thing that's happened with the New York Liberty. The New York Liberty were just like the Knicks prior years. When Sabrina Ionescu came here in 2020, they won only 2 games. It was pitiful. There was times where I couldn't even watch the game. I said, I'm going to go run my errand because it's not looking good. Sabrina also suffered an ankle injury, broke an ankle. They had to bring in Benijah Laney Hamilton. She came in. And then slowly but surely each year, the ownership said, we have to bring a championship here. The New York Liberty are one of the original franchise teams that have yet to win a championship. And they finally did it this year. So shout out to the front office, shout out to ownership, and shout out to the coaches, because as with ownership, they also went out and brought in a better coach. They brought in Sandy Brondello, who's won a championship. Actually, this marks her 10th year since she's won her last championship. She won a championship with the Phoenix Mercury, with Brittany Griner, Diana Taurasi. And I'm going to be honest, when they brought in Sandy Brondello, I was actually happy about that move, because I just remember, like, not even just when she was coaching Phoenix, but I was like, Sandy's a really good coach. It's her decision making. She calls timeouts at the right time. She's not afraid to, check players. She utilizes her players, and she's not afraid to utilize her bench as well. She has trust. And I just love what this team has done to allow them to grow into new heights. I mean, every year, and it takes time for championship teams to win. So we're not going to include the 4 previous finals back when Teaspoon and Lobo and All those women were there, and a lot of them were in the house in the building on Sunday to be able to witness that. And that was pretty dope to see Teaspoon getting so emotional, to watch Rebecca Lobo and Sue Wicks, Epiphany Prince, who's also a assistant coach, but a player as well. I'm sure Cappy Pondexter watched the game as well. So for them to be able to finally be like, yo, we got one. And I think that's the feeling that if you're a New York sports fan and you live here in New York, especially, you're like, we finally got one. And I think if you're a Knicks fan, you're like, please, New York Knicks. But listen, this is the start of a great thing. This is what I wanted, the Liberty to be able to win a championship, pass the torch over to the Yankees to win in the World Series, and then the Yankees pass it over to the New York Knicks. And it's very much possible as well for this New York Knicks team to win a championship. It takes time, but if you look at where this Knicks team is moving and the trajectory of where they're moving and the growth and the moves that have been made, they're the right moves. This Knicks team in the past, when they were really bad, they would just bring in guys who were a total bust. They were either very injury prone, they were lazy, they were collecting high paying checks. How many Knicks players have we saw that got these huge contracts, were no longer playing with the Knicks, but still on the payroll? Because we were just bringing in anybody here. Fans would get all hype. I don't get hype quick. You got to show me something on the floor first before I get excited about you being on the Knicks. That means nothing, because you know why? The same mentality the New York Liberty had before they won on Sunday, that championship, the mentality that they had was, we didn't do anything yet. We didn't win anything yet. And all of those accolades, 6-man, in-season tournament, defensive player, don't mean nothing. It's great, but a championship is what matters. Sure, you get your money, you get your bag, but you got to be able to call yourself a champion is a different level. To be able to have that ring and that trophy is a different level. And that's where this Knicks team is heading. And they're going to get there. Is there some pressure on the Knicks this season? Yeah, I think there is a little pressure on the Knicks this season. The Knicks have to prove that they can get out of the second round. The Knicks have to prove tonight that they can hold Boston. Don't let all of the ring ceremony and so what? You know what? Use that as fuel for this season. That needs to be us getting rings this season. Let them celebrate. You stay locked in and stay focused and do what you need to do and beat Boston. Can OG contain who? Brown? I don't know who he's gonna be guarding. Got to play some defense, because what I saw in the preseason, not really happy about what I saw on the defensive end. It's still early. NBA League season starts tonight. But I am looking for a stronger defensive effort from the Knicks. I'm looking for Mikal Bridges to figure out whatever he's going to do with his shot. I don't know who decides I'm going to switch up the way I shoot the ball. I'm going to back off. I'm not going to go too crazy, because again, the season just starts tonight. I'm looking for Josh Hart to figure out where does he fit in with this team. I don't think he fits in as a starter. I think Josh Hart needs to be coming off the bench. I think Josh Hart is trying to not get himself in a Fournier kind of trouble, and he don't want to get benched. I don't see that happening so loosey-goosey, but he's watching his words and what he say and how he said it. But I think I give him a lot of credit. He's vocalizing, I don't know, but I'm not really comfortable starting. And I mentioned this on the Queen's Court. Shout out to Steph, Jeff. We were talking about this last night on the show. And shout out to Tony Crow. And I was saying how I feel like Josh Hart starting reminds me of when we had Grimes starting. Grimes didn't seem too comfortable with that role. He did it, It's almost like when you at your job and your boss is like, can you, and you like, damn, I ain't really trying to do that, but you do it. That was the case with Grimes. But Grimes had this immense pressure. And I think that took away from him focusing on coming in the game and being able to put his shots up. And I think also a small part of it, and I've spoke about this before, was I didn't feel like Tibbs was utilizing Grimes to the best of his capabilities. And I don't think Tibbs does a good job of that with guys who are catch and shoot guys like Grimes. But I think that Josh Hart needs to come off the bench. And I think maybe you need to have Deuce McBride starting. Again, we're still early in the season. I'm not panicking. I'm not formulating these huge opinions about things because in tonight's game, I'll be able to get a good feel. And I'll say after maybe the first 20 games, I want to see if the Knicks come off to a good start. If they're off to a slow start, I think the real question is like, why are we off to a slow start? Are we struggling defensively? Is it offensively? Or is it our rotations? Does Tibbs need to switch up maybe who's playing on the floor together? I mean, it's so many different variables that you have to consider when you watch this Knicks team. But I think it's also important that, to me, I was asked, what is my expectations? And I said this on the Queen's Court last night, and I spoke about this with Diva Locks. We talked about what do we predict the Knicks record to be. And there were some people in the comments who were like, how are you saying the Knicks are going to finish in possible anywhere between second and fourth in the Eastern Conference, but yet you're saying that you want them to win 60 games? Here's the thing. I'm saying between second and fourth in the Eastern Conference. That's one. Two, the Eastern Conference, I believe, is going to be a lot better than it was last year. So I think it's going to be some stiff competition. I also think that as a fan, we have to raise the level of expectations. I'm not saying shoot for the moon. There's nothing wrong with that either. But I do think that, like, we can't be content with saying, okay, the Knicks should win another 50 games. And if they win 48, 50, 52, great. But I think that we need to shoot for this team to try to give us at least 55 to 60 wins. And again, it's not necessarily how you start, it's how you finish. And I think that's one of the biggest things, that's the key factor with this New York Knicks team, as far as the postseason goes. I also don't want this team to get plagued by playing so many minutes through the regular season and then they lose gas come the second round. And I understand that last year we had a problem as far as injuries. So I pray for good health for the entire team to withstand playing the entire 82 game season, as well as preparing for the postseason, because playoffs, it's a different level. So you have to be able to like switch and turn it up for that next level playing field that happens in the playoffs. And this Knicks team can do it. They can do it. They just got to stay focused. And again, I'm not going to harp so much on, oh, they got to win 60 games. It would be nice. Again, I'm not going to lower my expectations. It would be nice. And then it would be nice if the Knicks, I do believe the Knicks can finish within that second to fourth place spot. But it's also like, okay, now you finished the season. How do you turn the gears and not lose wind come playoff time? And I know I'm jumping a gun way ahead as the season is just starting tonight. I'm just saying, like, just in general throughout the season. But I think we just got to take it game by game, month by month, and look at how the Knicks do, and break it down each month. And I'm excited. I can't wait to talk. I'm so happy that the NBA is back. I'm so happy we could talk about the New York Knicks. My expectations tonight, and then when they play Indiana, I have the Knicks 1-1. I said my loss would probably be picking tonight's game against Boston. But if the Knicks can surprise me, even better. Great. So I just want to see what this Knicks do. I want to see how Cat plays, his defensive presence. Same thing with Mikal Bridges. I want to see what Deuce as well. I'm not worried about Deuce, but I want to see if Deuce will implement more to his game aside from being a catch and shoot guy. He has tremendous speed and can fly to the basket. And that can be an asset to this team. And then Jalen Brunson, I think it's about balance with him, you know, deciding game by game, depending on what's being brought towards the Knicks. If he has to some games be more of a facilitator, and then other games, his inside shot in the paint, he's clutch. But I think it's just finding that balance between the both, each game by game. So I kind of got off of the Liberty because I did want to talk about what I was looking forward to for tonight's game against Boston. And the Knicks should look to like really get their revenge against Boston. Last year they had the Knicks number, and the Knicks struggled against them. I think we only beat them twice, maybe three times, but I feel like we only beat them like twice. And correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. But yeah, I think the Knicks need to use, when you lose against teams like Boston, as fuel this year to be better and figure out how do you beat them. Boston spaces the floor very well, and I think the Knicks can be like that as well. When you have a guy like Karl Anthony Towns who can shoot the three, who can pass the ball, and then with Jalen Brunson having that trust with Karl Anthony Towns to do the pick and roll more than he did it with Mitchell Robinson, whereas with Mitch, he was settling more for a lob. I think we have something here. I don't think we have something here. So it's just about also the Knicks being consistent and not moving away from what works. So stick to if that's working in a game and the defense is working or your offensive scheme is working, don't steer from that. Don't try to switch it up in the third quarter. Speaking of third quarters, I think the Knicks need to make sure that they come out with strong third quarters. That was an issue last year. So it's the little things, but this team will figure it out. They're going to figure out how to come together. They're going to figure out how to play together. They're going to gel together. And it's going to take them a few games, but they'll get there. It was the same way last year, and then they were playing excellent together. So it's going to happen for this roster as well. A majority of this team is back. I'm looking forward to seeing the rookies as well. From Daddy A, I love what I saw from him. I want to see what Kolek can do as well. I'm looking forward to also seeing he's not no rookie, but campaign. I think he's a nice X factor for this team and can give you a nice, spark off of the bench when the Knicks need it. So I think the way this matchup and this roster is, it's going to work in the Knicks' favor, because I don't think offense is going to be a problem for the Knicks this year, as they have plenty of weapons. I really think they have to hone in on the defense. You got to be able to guard the perimeter. You got to be able to keep guys in front of you and not play defense on someone's hip and on their side. You got to help out and rebound. They can't just be Josh Hart and whoever else. Other people got to contribute and get some rebounds. Can't be one person grabbing all the boards. And we got to knock down free throws. So I'm curious to see how the offense looks this year when you don't have iHeart, who was able to get the ball in the paint, kick it out, or do a nice bounce pass. So I'm curious to see how the ball movement and the flow of the game for the Knicks is going to be this year. So I'm excited to see how that looks, and take on some stressful games where it's going to be close games. But this team has proven that they don't, if they're down, they fight and they get back in a game, which I love. They're not the old Knicks, and this is what I mean. This team is moving in the right direction. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm happy that the NBA is back. And yeah, I like the schedule so far too, the first couple of games. It's a nice little test for the Knicks. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and looking forward to going to some games, looking forward to some meetups, and hopefully meeting some of you in the chat as well. You should totally come out this year and make it to any of the meetups from any of the content creators. The all women's panel will also be back talking New York Knicks as well. So I'll definitely be helping out with that. But yeah, it's back, and it's exciting times. The NBA is back. We get to watch our Knicks. So yeah, I'm excited about that. But, like I was speaking on earlier with the Liberty, I couldn't be more proud of this group and for them coming together and winning, keeping their eyes on a prize and winning. And it's funny because there's been so much controversy after this win where Minnesota Lynx felt like the Liberty were handed the game. Minnesota Lynx head coach Cheryl Reeves went in a post-game conference and pretty much made some comments basically saying, in quote, she felt like the game was stolen from them. The thing is with that, I feel like in any sport, I don't care what sport it is, you can't rely on an official, referee, whoever, to dictate your team winning a game. Because here's the thing, and I see people jumping on a bandwagon talking about that. Oh, the Liberty, they were handed that game because they never won a championship. No, they earned it. You're not the number one team for the entire season for a reason. For any old reason. They were the number one team. Barely lost any games. That's not easy to do. They could have, for all of that, then why did Minnesota move to number one? They were number one, remain number one. They also did that so they can have home court advantage, which worked in their favor. But I will say the finals was a hell of a finals. Actually, this finals to me was way better to watch than it was last year when we played the Aces. But you can't go on a podium and blame the referees because you felt like Breanna Stewart traveled, or you felt like Alana Smith didn't foul Breanna Stewart on that last play. Because if you rewind, then you should have won 2 games in a row prior to that, or you should have beat the Liberty in the overtime. Minnesota didn't score a basket in the over. It took them a while to score in the overtime. So, and then if you rewind before that, Minnesota was up by as much as like 15 points in game 5. So if you guys really wanted to win, Cheryl Reeve and the Minnesota Lynx, y'all would have put the Liberty away. But you allowed the Liberty to come into that game in the third quarter. The Liberty went on a run. They came out at halftime, which is a rarity because usually the Liberty are not a good third quarter team. And they weren't playing good. Both teams, to me, didn't really play good. Minnesota wasn't doing anything special. The Liberty just wasn't playing defense. Minnesota got a ton of layups. That's what got them up. Layup. It was a layup party the whole game. The whole first half. It's because the Liberty wasn't playing defense. Somehow there was someone open. Nafisa Collier, they were just cutting. That was easy money for them, a layup party. And then you allowed the Liberty to come out in the third quarter. The Liberty went on a run. Now the Liberty are in the game. But blaming the referees, okay, it went to overtime. They were just off. Courtney Williams wasn't in her Birkin bag. Like in game 4, she said she was deep in that Birkin bag. I don't know where that Birkin bag was at on Sunday because she was off. She only finished with the game with 4 points. She was off. She had a couple of nice looks. Bridget Carlton had a nice look at the end of the game. She missed the shot. Kayla McBride had a nice look at the end of the game. She missed the shot. So they had a few opportunities to put the game away and they couldn't. They were off. But even aside from that, they were up. They allowed the Liberty to come back into the game. So you can't blame it. Listen, and for all of that, as New York fans, as Liberty fans, the Liberty coaches, and granted, Coach Sandy Brondello did complain. She doesn't do that. But game 4, the referees were atrocious. The referees have been terrible the entire WNBA French League series, and they've been bad the entire playoffs. This has been happening in a regular season. I always joke, I'm like, are they finding these refs on Craigslist? Because I'm not understanding either they're calling a whistle too tight or there's no such thing as a foul. You watch the replay and you're like, where? There's no foul. And it's 3 of them on the floor. I don't know. According to Cheryl Reeves, the Minnesota head coach, the WNBA needs to get a third person involved. Kind of like how the NBA does when they have the retired official head referee who's sitting in the media room and he's watching a replay, helping them with the call. She wants the WNBA to do that. Do I think that's needed? Yeah. I think it could help. I don't think that that's necessary, but it can help. Because I think that the WNBA referees are like, I don't know, they got to figure it out. They have to figure it out because it's not even just the playoffs. It was even in the regular season, and that even last year I was saying this about the referees. This is not a just this year kind of thing, but you can't allow a whistle to be a deciding factor for a team to win. You have to learn how to play through it. You got to figure out how to regroup and figure out how to get the win at the end of the day. It's a game 5 championship, do or die on the line. And yeah, the Minnesota Lynx struggled to get that win. And I think the Liberty also knew, not just for the franchise, but the Liberty wanted to bring this championship to New York so badly because New York hasn't had a championship in years in any sport. I mean, this is why Yankees fans are so excited, because New York teams, when they win something, a championship, you got to savor it all in, take it all in, because it may be a couple of centuries before you get another one. Unfortunately, I hate to say it like that, but it's the truth. So the Liberty one, was it pretty? No, I didn't want it to be pretty. I like the back and forth, the closeness of it. Was it stressful? Hell yeah, it was stressful. But it made for good TV. And let me tell you something. The ending is helping the WNBA at the end of the day because people are still talking about it. That's all you see on social media. That's all you see on the internet. People are like, oh, well, Stewie traveled, or the refs suck in New York. Great. Keep talking about it. This is what the WNBA wanted. They wanted it to go to a game 5. They want people to talk about it. And this is what you're getting. So I think it's great in that perspective, and that people are still talking about it. I think it's excellent for New York City. And by the way, the Liberty being in the finals, the playoffs and the finals have generated $18+ million for the New York City. So, yeah, those of you who are available, the New York Liberty will be having a parade this Thursday. It starts at 10 a.m. Then after that, they're going to have a ceremony at City Hall. I believe you got to have a ticket to that. It's free, but you need a ticket. And then from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., they're going to have the championship ceremony at Barclays. So if you're in the area, come to the parade. I will be there at the parade. I will be recording. I'll make a video and I'll edit it, and I'll probably post it on this channel. So those of you who are interested, you can watch it. But New York, we have a championship. We have a championship. And now this makes me even more excited because I'm like, yo, the Knicks got next. Tag, you're it. Y'all next. Don't count the Knicks out. I like the Liberty were the underdogs. The Knicks are the underdogs. People still take the Knicks as a joke. Stay like that. Prove people wrong and shut them up. That's what you got to do. And with a healthy Knicks team, they can be for sure a problem. So they just got to stay the course. It's not meant to be easy. To get a championship is hard. It's not meant to be easy. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be grueling. You're supposed to be tired. You played 82 games and now you got to play in the playoffs. I hope this Knicks team can have a healthy Mitchell Robinson for the playoffs. I would rather Mitchell Robinson play spotty minutes in a regular season whenever he comes back and preserve for him for the playoffs. Because you're going to need him. You're going to need him. I also think that Tyler Kolek should play minutes, a little bit more than 2 minutes or 3 minutes. I think, yeah, he should get those minutes like how Deuce McBride started when he was toggling back and forth between G League and playing on the Knicks. and Tibbs will give him 2 minutes here, then he would bump it up to 3.5, 4 minutes, then he was getting 5 minutes. I think Tyler Kolek needs to get that same treatment, because I think Tyler Kolek playing alongside Brunson at times is going to be beneficial for him and the Knicks. Tyler Kolek looks very comfortable. And I was saying that since Summer League. He looks very comfortable. He doesn't look too wild. He doesn't look out of control. He looks like we're having the right mentorship between coaches and Brunson. He's going to learn a lot, and he's only going to get better. Just like we're seeing Deuce McBride keep continue to flourish and grow. So I think the Knicks need to use tonight's game against Boston as fuel for this season. And then when you play Indiana in your second game of the start of this NBA season, I think you need to look at what Indiana did to you in the second round and use that as motivation to beat them as well. And then you have to be prepared for whoever you face in a regular season that you may potentially face in round 1 or 2 of the playoffs. So stay motivated, stay consistent. You got to play hard, take it game by game, and continue to get better each game. Continue to get better. I can care less about an in-season tournament. Yeah, it's great you get extra money, but we need a championship for the Knicks. That's what we need, a championship. And this Knicks team is more than capable. They're more than capable. So I'm not going to get too high. I'm not going to get too low. I'm just going to watch, see, and you'll be hearing me rant about it. So for those of you who didn't catch it, I'm now on the Queen's Court every Monday at 7:30. And Diva Locks and I are trying to figure out our schedule because she's in class. She's taking a class. So you'll probably be seeing me rolling solo some games sometimes. But now that the Knicks are playing, I will have people joining me on the panel. So I'll open it up. And I'll probably even put the link in the chat if any of you in the chat want to join as well. So yeah, there'll be people joining me for sure. But, you know, Mondays will be I'll be on the Queen's Court. We'll be on Thursdays and Sundays. And we'll most likely Two Knicks Chicks have another day that we'll be on, because with the way the Knicks schedule is, they're going to be playing multiple times a week. And yeah, we just need to talk things Knicks, because I love talking basketball. I love talking about these Knicks, and I'm so happy that they're back. I'm so happy that they're back. So I don't know. Tell me how you guys are feeling. Like, what are your expectations for the Knicks this season? Do you have any expectations tonight? You know, are you expecting the Knicks to win tonight? So, you know, I think that we need to give this team grace, but not be too content and complacent of like, okay, yeah, and just want them to like, I think we need to have some expectations for this Knicks team. And they need to be a little higher than they were last year. And I do think that this Knicks front office, I think Tibbs, and I think the players have some pressure on them. I think Jalen Brunson has pressure on him too, but I don't think the pressure phases him. I think he's just like, he's able to handle and withstand whatever pressure is being brought towards him, because he wants a championship oh so bad. So yeah, I think this Knicks team will be okay. I'm not worried that we don't have Randall. I'm not worried that we don't have DiVincenzo. We have the right replacements for this team. And this group can get it done. Now, do I have a little concern with the bench? A little bit. I don't think that the bench is strong enough, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. We'll see when Precious Achiuwa gets back, when Mitchell Robinson gets back, which I know Precious will be back before Mitch, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I'm still, there's an asterisk there for me when you talk about the Knicks bench that I'm still trying to figure out. So we'll see. Salute Kareem Grant. Right. Put them Lady Liberties up. The Liberty are champions. I still can't believe it. I think it's gonna hit me once I go to the parade on Thursday. Like, I mean, just it's gonna be crazy in the city. If you guys, like I said, if you can make it, join. Damian Cox salute said, Ionescu and Laney played together for 4 years together. Yeah. Someone actually left me a comment and said, hey, Lady and the Chef, I noticed you said in the video that Brianna Stewart is the captain, but I think Benijah Laney Hamilton is actually the captain and maybe Stewie is the co-captain. And you know what? I told that person I was going to look it up because I think that they're right. Laney technically has been on this team longer than Brianna Stewart. So it would make sense that she's the captain. Um, and maybe they do have Stewie as a co-captain, but Stewie was more of their like vocal leader. She comes from winning 2 championships already. This is now her 3rd championship. This is Courtney Vandersloot's 2nd championship. So they know what it takes to win a championship. But shout out to both Ionescu and Laney. And to the haters that are saying Sabrina Ionescu shot 1 for 19, y'all need to stop underestimating her. Because Sabrina kept us in this series. Don't forget about that last shot that she made for us. She won us the game. So yeah, I think that y'all forget that Sabrina kept us in this series. And not only that, I don't think her performance in the finals should be based off of who she is as a player. Because in the whole playoff, she actually did really well. It was just against Minnesota. She didn't average as much as she used to, but Sabrina's still that girl. And you know, it sucks because Sabrina Ionescu, like Jalen Brunson, she don't get enough respect on her name. That's okay. Like she said, I care more about winning a championship than all those other accolades because she couldn't even get voted on all first team, which I thought was disrespectful as well. They chose Caitlin Clark over Ionescu. That's okay. But yeah, put some respect on Ionescu's name. AP salute say, you know, I was waiting for this. This is the first pro basketball championship I have ever seen in my lifetime in New York City. Yeah, same, because I never got to experience when the Knicks won. That was before my time. You know, and I only want for so many of us Knicks fans to be able to witness the Knicks to win a championship. Like the time is now. The time is now, and it's coming. They're moving in that direction, and it takes time for championship teams to win. The Liberty used that losing in the finals last year as fuel. They didn't forget that, and they stayed hungry. And this next team can do the same thing. I want to see all of my fellow, you know, the followers we have, content creators, people who are just diehard Knicks fans to be able to witness a championship. Hell, I want to see people like Clyde be able to see them win another one. You know, I mean, hell, I want to see my mom be able to witness that. She put me on to the Knicks. A Negro One salute. He says, salute and congratulations to the Liberty. Yes, salute to the Liberty for bringing us a championship. Wonder Woman salute. Parish Jugger salute. He said, you know what's funny? The Liberty earned the home court advantage, so they earned the home team 50-50 calls. So go kick rocks, Minnesota. Liberty earned that. Yeah. And that's the thing, too. When you have home court advantage, sometimes those 1 or 2 calls, the refs is going to call in your favor. And I mean, we saw that in game 4 when the Liberty played in Minnesota. Minnesota got, you know, a couple of them calls that was in their favor, you know. So listen, you got to take the L on the high road and use it as fuel for next year. Nafisa Collier says she's pissed. Cheryl Reeves said they're pissed. Use it as fuel for next year. They have the capability. Minnesota's a really good team. They weren't even projected to make the playoffs this year. They did so bad last year that no one thought they was going to make it, and they turned it around. So, you know, and I just want to point out too, which we'll have a show talking about this. There's lots, now that the WNBA season is over, one, Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, which I think is going to be so interesting being that they just played against each other. They both started their own separate league, Unrivaled. Unrivaled starts in January. That's a 3-on-3 tournament that's going to be going on for about 2 to 3 months. So I'm excited to see that. most of the WNBA players just decided that they're not gonna re-sign their agreement. So it's not gonna affect next year, so 2025 season, but the season after that, if the league doesn't come in an agreement with the players, there's gonna be a lockout. Good for them. Pay them their money. Pay them their money. You're making all these money when endorsements were here and contracts were here. You got to pay them their money. So good for them. Also, like I said, we're gonna do a show, especially on this. There's a lot of free agents in the WNBA this season. A lot of free agents. I'm talking about good quality players that they may end up on another team. So it's going to be a lot of moving and shaking in this off season of players that you may have seen on one team this year, or they've been on that team for a few years and they may end up somewhere else. So I'm very excited to see what happens with that and who's going to acquire who. And listen, the WNBA wasn't playing no games. Just like in the NBA, the WNBA is not afraid to fire a coach. 4 coaches got fired. If you're not making the playoffs, if you have a crappy season, you're out of here. This is a business. You're out of here. Tanisha Wright from the Atlanta Dream, fired. Teresa Witherspoon, Chicago Sky, fired. Teaspoon will get a job. And I really hope that Teaspoon, I don't know if they have room for her on the Liberty as an assistant coach or if she's open to taking an assistant coach position. I don't know if Teaspoon's going to work with an NBA team. I don't know. I'm sure Teaspoon will get employed somewhere with a coaching position. I hope it's NBA, WNBA. I hope she doesn't go to the college level. Nothing wrong with that. But I would like to see her in either NBA, back in the NBA coaching or WNBA coaching. Los Angeles Sparks coach fired. Dallas Wings coach fired, which I definitely saw that coming. I heard that they've made this Connecticut Suns coach. She did a phenomenal job. She's not necessarily getting fired, but I don't know if she's going to still be the coach next year. I've heard through a reputable blog podcast that she may end up somewhere else, Stephanie White. So maybe she may take one of those open positions. Maybe Teaspoon could get a job coaching one of the other teams. I don't know. Teaspoon's my homegirl, so I'm wishing Teaspoon all the best. I hope one of those other teams could give her a chance because I don't think she was given a fair opportunity in Chicago. So we'll see. Damian Cox said the Knicks won't win it all in 2025 because of the lack of bench depth. So the Knicks still need some help. We'll see. I think also too, not even just talking championship, the Knicks got to prove that they can get out of the second round. Because we know they can make the first and second round. They got to prove they can get out of the second round and they can get to the finals, the Eastern Conference Finals. So that's something that they have to prove that they can do. Yurko, salute to the Yankees. Exactly, AP. All that matters, a win is a win. It don't matter how they got it. They won. It wasn't the prettiest win. Listen, but they won. So Joe Curry, salute. He said, all hail the Liberty, the first New York team to win since 2009. Yeah, when the Yankees won last. Yeah, it's crazy. That's what I said. It's like you gotta. New York sports fans were like, what the hell is going on here? Why can't these teams win? And I don't know how people do the parlays and betting because man, please. Not with the way these New York teams play. Wonder Woman said McBride had a chance to win in regulation and she missed, and the Lynx did not show up in overtime. Yeah, McBride, that's what I'm saying. McBride had a chance. It was McBride and Bridget Carlton at the end of the game. They had a chance to hit the 3 and end the game. They missed. And the Lynx went quiet. And Sandy Brondello said in the post game conference that she said, fun fact alert. She said the team who scores the first basket in overtime are more likely to win. She said, so when Leonie Phoebus hit the shot, the three for us at the top of overtime, she knew. She said, I had a good feeling we were going to win. And the Liberty were more aggressive compared to the last game where we had overtime. And the Liberty they waited to the last minute and 50 to try to now score. It was too late. So, that's what I mean. Minnesota had their opportunities to take advantage when they were up by 15. And then in overtime, they could have went off and said, you know what, let's get a quick go up by 7 to 10 points. And they didn't do it. And like I said, Courtney Williams talking all of that talk, that Birkin bag must have got lost in the subway. Someone must have taken it from her because she was nowhere to be found. Joe Curry said, wasn't until they went big up front with Jones, Sabally, Stewart, Phoebus, and UNESCO, it was really Sabally's game. Yeah, Sabally was huge for the Liberty. Niara Sabally was huge in its entire series. Sandy didn't utilize Niara Sabally as much. She was playing like 7 minutes, 9 minutes. And I watched a post-game conference and Coach Sandy Brondello said, I knew we had to go big. And Minnesota wasn't expecting that. Also, Minnesota can't handle the Liberty's height. The Liberty are very tall. Niara Sabally 6'5", Jonquel, what is she, 6'5", or she's 6'6", they tall. Leonie Phoebus, 6'4", 6'5", so they're very tall. Stewie has a 7'2" wingspan. It's very hard to get a bucket over Breanna Stewart because her arms are so long that she's gonna block it. But Sabally was the difference maker, and Breanna Stewart said that in a post game. She said, "Can I say something?" She said, "Because actually, she stayed ready, and Sabally stayed ready." Sandy Brondello said, "I wasn't surprised because I told her at the halftime to be ready. I think I'm gonna go big." She came in that game. Even before game 5, I was saying they need to put Sabally in and give her more minutes. She was giving us 2 second, third, fourth chance opportunities with her defensive rebounds, her offensive rebounds. She was getting us blocks. She was boxing out well. She was not afraid of Nafisa Collier. Snatched the ball right from her and got a steal. And Nafisa didn't even chase her down. She gave up on the play. That wasn't a foul. Sabally, aside from Jonquel Jones, who was one of my keys to the Liberty winning this finals, Jonquel Jones did her job the entire finals. Every game, she did her job. But who won the Liberty game besides Jonquel Jones was Niara Sabally, Leonie Phoebus, and Kayla Thornton. Kasui and Sabrina, they were sitting in the crowd. They must have been getting snacks for after when they won because they were nowhere to be found. And I'm going to back off of Breanna Stewart a little bit because Breanna figured out a way, as she always does. She said, well, okay, if I'm not scoring, I can do other things. And Breanna Stewart did that. She got plenty of blocks. At one point I saw where she had 14 rebounds and like 7 points. So if you can't score and your shot's not going down, you got to figure out how to do the other little things to help this team out. And defensively, she was clutch. Rebounding, she was clutch. And Sabrina figured out a way. She kept shooting as shooters are going to shoot. But she found Sabally. Nice bounce passes. Sometimes, and I think Sabrina has to utilize that for next season, be a facilitator. If your shot's not going down, do other things to help your team win. So although Sabrina Ionescu and Breanna Stewart weren't scoring, they did other things to help this team win. It takes a team effort. I thought they did a better job in game 5 getting the ball down low to Jonquel Jones. Because you notice Jonquel wasn't chucking up those threes. She could hit them, but she wasn't chucking them up. So I thought they did a Going big was very smart. I thought from the rip, round one of the playoffs, when we played Atlanta, when Sandy started Phoebish, I said that was a smart move because you need the height. She's she's a distraction to other defenders and to a lot of guards. Phoebish is so tall and she could keep up with them. And not to mention, she's a walking bucket. She could knock down a three. So, but again, I thought Sabali was just, she was our true X factor in that game and made all the world difference. I was so impressed with what I saw. I was like, wow, look at what she's doing out there. I'm like, don't take her out. Leave her in the game. Don't even take her out. Leave her right in the game. And you saw Kayla Thornton got more minutes because she was playing so aggressive defensively, which she probably had more than 5 fouls. I think Kayla probably had 7 to 8 fouls. But the Liberty were at home. The refs were sparing her. But I mean, the defense was just matador smothering defense. And it was her birthday, so she wanted it more. She wanted that win. She wanted that championship on her birthday. So Yankees have next, Knicks have it after, and then the Rangers. Yeah, I believe the Yankees could do it. That's going to be a really good World Series. Dodgers have been great all season. And sometimes I think like it would have been dope if it would have been the Yankees and the Mets and have that Subway World Series. But I think sometimes what makes a really good finals is when you have two really, really good teams. And don't get me wrong, last year's WNBA finals with the Aces being a rival to the Liberties, those two teams are such rivals. It was good, but this year was way better against Minnesota. And I think that's how it's going to be with the Yankees and LA, the Dodgers. Just a better, a really juicy, a good series. You know, people said, oh, the finals is going to be boring. There was nothing boring about that. I was stressed. I couldn't relax. Does this championship put Sandy Brondello ahead of Tibbs now as far as New York sports? I think Sandy is ahead of Tibbs, only because she's won 2 championships. Tibbs is a great coach, and that Tibbs is the type of coach who teams bring in, and Tibbs' resume reflects that, where he comes in to coach a team, and Tibbs is able to bring a team that's here. But he has to figure out how to keep going up and get them there to the finish line. And that's the pressure that is on Tibbs. Sure, he was resigned, but can Tibbs bring this team over the final hump? Because now there's no excuse as you don't have the right players to get them over the hump. You have the right players. So, yeah, I think definitely Sandy Brondello's ahead of, it puts her, this championship definitely puts her ahead of Tibbs. Just because now she has 2 championships under her belt. And that's what matters in any sport. It's the championship. So we're going to see what happens tonight with the Knicks. I'm excited for this game. I know you all will be tuned in as well. And then the Knicks, I believe the Knicks play again. When's the next game? So they play tonight, and then they play Friday at 7:30. So yeah, the Knicks are about to start, everybody. I'm going to be tuned into this game. We will talk on Thursday because I'm going to talk about the parade, and then we're going to talk about the Knicks. So what better? But I hope everybody is enjoying their week, having a good week. I'll be back definitely with Diva Locks. And yeah, check us out Thursday. We'll be back at 7. Until next time, everybody, let's go Knicks. Let's go Yankees. See everybody and have a great night.